Kevin, wrestling's a bizarre world right now. CM Punk comes back, and all of a sudden he's had a third major injury in literally what 18 months. He's
Right.
had his third major injury. His WrestleMania main event dreams now come crashing down. It's over. There's Vince McMahon allegations, which are in this lawsuit now, 67 pages. We'll address that fully in a different show, but that's going on. Vince McMahon, the
Yeah.
guy who made wrestling, is getting the Chris Benoit treatment. Brock Lesnar now might not ever be on WWE TV again, seemingly. We'll address that as well in its own special show. Drew McIntyre is doing the best work in the company, and I'd argue wrestling as a whole. Cody's won back-to-back Rumbles, pal. Okay, like Bailey's finally won a Royal Rumble. There's a million things going on. Jade Cargill's officially here. Bron Breakker's seemingly getting a big push. There's a lot to go into. You're at the Royal Rumble. You got some things, extra things to say and go over. A million things are happening. I've got to go off on Chris Jericho again. Pal, how you doing?
I'm good, pal. Thank you for that. We're going down the run sheet of everything that we're going to be talking about here, pal. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Chris Jericho. We're going to talk about Jeff Hardy. Just your overall experience from watching Dynamite. I assumed you watched the show in full last night. You watched Dynamite, live on Dynamite, pal. Yeah, we're going to talk some more Royal Rumble stuff. We're going to talk CM Punk. Let's just get to that. Let's get to the CM Punk conversation. That's what everybody wants to hear, pal. It's the hottest name in wrestling. So your GOAT, your favorite wrestler of all time, he appeared at the Royal Rumble in front of me and 49,000 other patrons in St. Petersburg. And he did what I predicted he would do. High knee, bulldog, light MMA style kicks, and he tears his triceps. I believe it was in his right arm. He tears his triceps taking a DDT from Drew McIntyre. And now here we are. So on Raw, Punk comes out, and he's like, I'm not going to be able to main event WrestleMania. It's just not in the cards. He cuts a really good emotional promo. Probably the most raw and uncut promo CM Punk's ever done. He's talking about his friend that had cancer. Really lots of good emotional stuff there. Now, this is about the wrestling side of this. What is your overall reaction to this here? Because CM Punk, the stars were aligned. CM Punk is back. He's going to main event WrestleMania. He's on a collision course with Seth Rollins. They had been building up that match from the moment CM Punk walked out in Chicago at Survivor Series. And here we are. It's come crashing down. So, what's your overall thoughts, pal?
It's first and foremost, it sucks. I mean, obviously, because having Punk, who's, now objectively, one of your top guys, have such a major injury and miss WrestleMania, it's just bad for all parties involved. Because now from the WWE point of view, you have to go to Plan B or Plan C or Plan D, whatever, because of that. For Punk, it's devastating, as we all saw in that promo.
Yeah.
How real, how raw, or authentic that was. I must say, I was so impressed by the way Punk handled that in the promo. That wasn't a bitter Punk. That was like a raw and authentic Punk, talking about the friend with the cancer and how people who fight battles every day that are bigger than just wrestling, and people go through things. They're the best in the world in their own regard. It was just an amazing babyface promo. It was it was one of these promos where Punk can say, at the end of his career, I did many things. That promo I did, and the message was fantastic. What it means for Punk, is this realistically the end of him as a viable main event option? Because we look at him now. It's 2024, so it's February 1st, 2024 for you. For me, it's February 2nd. He's had three, let's count them, 1, 2, 3 big time major injuries in the past 18 months. There was the one at all in or not all out,
All
all
out,
both.
yeah, all out. The first one was, I believe it was Double or Nothing. I think Double or Nothing 2022 is when he first got hurt in the match with Hangman, and then he tore his triceps at All Out in 2022 facing John Moxley. That's the injury that kept him out until June when Collision debuted.
Yeah, correct. So there was that, and then he got injured again at All In?
No, he didn't get injured again. No, it was just a Double or Nothing 2022. He injured his leg or something against Hangman. He was out for a few months. Then remember, Moxley was the interim champion during the summer of 22. He came back. They did the Rocky storyline. Moxley squashed him. Then he beat Moxley 2 weeks later.
Yep.
And then yeah, so he's had 2 tricep tears in 18 months. Tore his
Jeez.
tricep in August of 2022, then he tore it again here at the Royal Rumble. Now, the cold hard facts about this is that this guy is injury prone now because he was like 37 years old attempting to learn mixed martial arts, and that just ruined his body. You know, he was far too old to be training. He should have never been in an octagon. It was extremely unsafe for everybody involved. The UFC are lucky that the guy's even alive. Like, to be frank, throwing him out there with like 23, 24-year-old killers, and so that ruined his body. It's just, it is what it is now at this stage, and it's like we saw it happen in the NFL with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers blew his Achilles out, just making a basic like drop back and getting ready to throw the football. Older athletes, like, just, it happens. It's a risk that you take.
And yeah, I guess now we think about, I guess, what this means, and we'll discuss this more in the next 2 months. But we now look at WrestleMania 40, and obviously when you go from what initially was CM Punk, Seth Rollins, night one main event, lock it in, book it, like as soon as he came out of Survivor Series, that was the main event of WrestleMania night one. Now they have to pivot, and who knows the situation with Seth Rollins? That's a whole separate situation. How bad that is, is it as bad as Rollins gives off, or is it worse, or is it a nothing? It's hard to get a gauge on that. I think they're covering up just how bad Rollins' situation is with his health. I think so. That's what it feels like. So then, what do we get at WrestleMania then? What do you think, pal? Because I think Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins is the match now.
Yeah.
I think it has to be.
Or Gunther. I mean, you could go either way. McIntyre or Gunther. There's a solid story either way you go. I think Gunther is the move, title versus title. But I want to say this before we get more into that. Well, actually, we'll talk about the WrestleMania stuff with Seth Rollins later in a full episode. Yeah. But I want to talk about this. 2 things, right? One, that promo that Rollins cut on Cody on Raw. In my opinion, that was a terrible look for this guy, like, to be practically begging Cody to pick him. You're the champion, bro, and you've got you're out there like, oh, Cody, pick me. Dusty would want you to pick me. Like that. I mean, the title already feels meaningless, right? Because of the way that it was brought in, the way it was introduced, and then now Punk's gone, so Punk and Rollins was going to elevate that title. Now without Punk there, now you got Rollins begging for Cody to pick him, like that. Like, why would that title feel important? Like, if I show that to somebody who doesn't watch wrestling on a weekly basis, they're gonna be like, "What is this, bro?" Like, I don't even know. I don't think there's an angle to even defend that. They even say that was a good promo or a good segment. Like, yeah, Rollins was emotional, yeah, and Cody was like emotional too. But Cody's gonna pick Reigns. We already know that. With that being obvious knowledge, what is the point of that? I get it. You want to milk the Cody decision for as much as you can get out of it, but it's like we already know it's gonna be Cody versus Reigns. So I don't know. Then the other thing I want to say is this. The conspiracy theorist in me, my ears perked up and my eyes perked up when Punk took that bump from McIntyre, right? Is there an outside possibility that Punk's injury is not as bad as we're being told it is, and he actually does show up for WrestleMania, and we get this like underdog babyface storyline? You know, we see Punk in rehab, pal, getting the arm back in shape. You know, we see him. Maybe he's at the airport. He gets jumped by Seth Rollins, pal, as he's signing autographs for children. And Seth Rollins like, I know you're not injured, bro. You're gonna main event WrestleMania. We're doing this. Like, stop trying to duck me. Like, whatever. Like, is there any outside possibility that this whole thing with Punk is not a work, but it's not as bad as we're being led on, and he's still gonna work WrestleMania?
I hope so. I mean, especially after that promo on Raw, that'd be fantastic. That'd be great. Realistically, though, it doesn't seem likely.
Right.
If you're doing well, pal, with it, yeah, as a 44-year-old Phil Brooks who's worked MMA and nearly got killed in the octagon by Mickey Gall, pal. That guy working with a torn tricep, pal. Maybe it's not torn. I mean, who knows, pal? But it seems like it's done. As far as that Seth Rollins promo, that's interesting you say that. I wasn't as hard on it when I was watching it. Obviously, it's a bit dumb, I think, when the Royal Rumble ends, the show you were there in St. Petersburg, Tropicana Field, it ends with Cody standing on the top rope, screaming, It's over for you, Roman. He's like screaming at Roman in the skybox. Roman's like looking around nervously, like he's like an 8-year-old who can't sleep because he's afraid of the dark. And then he looks around, and then Heyman says, raise the belt, Roman." And he's like anxiously holding the titles. Cody's screaming, "It's over, it's over." But that's how the show ends. And then you get the Raw 2 nights later, and Seth Rollins is like, Dusty would want you to fight for my title. Roman doesn't come to work. See, my belt exists because Roman's lazy. And it's like, well, yeah, we know Roman's lazy. The whole point is Cody beats him because he's lazy, and then ends this run. That's the whole point. So it seemed like obviously they're trying to fill in Rollins for a few weeks to assess how bad Rollins' situation is, probably figure out their own plans. I reckon Paul Levesque still has like 3 different balls in the air going, what do we do? What do we do? He's trying to figure it out. So that was just a segment to buy time. Otherwise, Rollins just wouldn't be on the show. So it's interesting. There's a lot to play out here. This is a pulsating WrestleMania season, pal. It's blistering.
Oh, yeah. So, because we kind of already answered this, but can CM Punk ever be trusted to main event a big-time pay-per-view at this stage in 2024?
Well, my just honest answer is, like, you can't put CM Punk in the main event match of any show. My honest opinion here, this might be like a big take. I don't know if this has been said on Twitter or whatever. I'm not on Twitter. I don't know if this is being said. I think CM Punk should become a manager of some capacity, because his talking is off the chain.
Wow.
And I think he'd be the best manager or valet of some kind in wrestling ever.
Wow.
With what he can say, how he can promote. I think he just like cuts like a promo where he's almost in tears going, I was sitting there in rehab. Let's say hypothetically he comes back from this tricep injury. Let's say SummerSlam, pal. He works Drew McIntyre. He does that match. And then like within a month, he's injured again, because that's literally what's happening with Punk now. He wrestles for a month and gets injured every time. Let's say that happens. He just goes, look, like, I want to keep wrestling, but I physically can't. And then he nominates someone who becomes their manager for. And then that star accelerates up. That's an option. So you want to keep Punk around in a meaningful capacity, and he physically can't wrestle main event matches, which is seemingly the case. I think it's a bad option.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that he got injured doing that Royal Rumble, like the whole standoff with Cody. In my opinion, I think they set Punk up for failure there, the way that was booked. Like, if you're gonna do this whole thing where you're gonna have him and Cody have like a 9.5-minute match in front of me and 49,000 other patrons in St. Petersburg, you gotta have Punk come out at number 30 for number 1, so he spends the least amount of time in the Royal Rumble. And does he really need to be doing like 17 bulldogs and trying to GTS everyone and their mother, taking chops from Gunther? Probably not. You know, like, you could just have him come out there. And then as soon as he walks in the ring, like, McIntyre eliminates Jey Uso or whoever was the 5th or 6th guy. You have McIntyre, you have Punk eliminate one guy, McIntyre eliminate the other guy. You get to the Fatal 4, the Fatal 4-way, the Final 4, however you want to phrase it. Get to that. Do what they do. Punk throws out McIntyre, Cody throws out Gunther, and then maybe, like, instead of 9 minutes, do like a 5-minute standoff with Cody and Punk. It probably would have been better received that way anyway, because the crowd wanted somebody big at number 30. I can say that from feeling the energy. Like, people were deflated, at least like in my section. They were like, "Oh, The Rock's coming at number 30. Oh my God, The Rock, Dwayne." And then some smark was like, "Oh, it's gonna be Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is not injured anymore." And I was just like, "What am I listening to right now?" You know, like, just have Punk come out at 30. Everybody's happy. It's Punk. Oh my God, and you just speed it up, and he probably wouldn't have gotten injured. I would imagine, if they would have just cut the time that he had in the match in half. I digress. Don't want to spend too much time on that, pal. You want to say anything?
Not really. I want to ask the next question and sort of add in a question we had later in the run sheet to this. The Royal Rumble format itself.
Yeah.
So Cody, when you think about it, he just always should have won the match, and it's good he did. But there was a lot of people, you heard some in the arena who walked out saying, whatever, as soon as Cody won, I'm not interested, whatever. There was that. And then a lot of people online were like, oh, boring, predictable, meh, not interested. Like, people who are like that, and that's a lot of people. Even though it's the clear, obvious, 1A booking decision, just have Cody win to face Roman. It's obvious, but I guess people are complaining. Similar with, Bayley, that was predictable. very predictable. More people, less people were complaining, pal, because Bailey didn't win last year. But you get the point. Is there a problem with the format? Because you mentioned people like during the women's one, we want Sasha, Sasha, Sasha. We want like the next big surprise, the next big sugar hit, the next big return, debut, the next viral thing, and it doesn't end up happening. And then people are like, oh, that's bad. This is boring. This wasn't good enough. Like people just they need that like dopamine sugar hit of the next big star. Same with The Rock in the men's Royal Rumble. If The Rock was in the men's Royal Rumble, as we discussed, one, that would have barely made sense. Two, it would have been, does The Rock win or does The Rock lose? It would have totally overshadowed everything else. And like, does The Rock need to be in there? I mean, no. Like The Rock's wrestled one match in how many years? 10, 11? Like, you know, what's the need? So it feels like to me now, and feel free, you were there, you can give a better analysis of what it was like in the arena, what people are saying, what the feeling was. But like I'm seeing the online fallout and people are bitching. Oh, it was predictable. It was boring. Well, I'm sorry. Not like just because Tony Khan and like wrestling the last 5 years has conditioned you that every 5 seconds there needs to be a new return, a new surprise. That's not a good thing. Like you should be able to watch the Royal Rumble go, yes, Cody won. Awesome. He locks in his match against Roman. Great. Bailey wins. Cool. That Prince locks in a match with Leo. Good. That's how I watched it. But people are whinging. Oh, there wasn't Sasha. This sucks. Oh, The Rock wasn't here. Boo. Boring. Oh, this legend didn't come out. Boo. Boring. It's like, take a step back. Stop bitching for the sake of bitching. Stop being so fickle. What they gave you was pretty good, in my opinion. Yeah. Yes. Did everything hit perfectly? No. Was the crowd a little dry at stages? Yes. But for the men's and the women's Royal Rumble, it was pretty entertaining. I had a friend who's a very casual fan, watched them. He was entertained. He enjoyed it. He had fun with the show. Like, it's not always about, okay, Sasha has to come out. The Rock has to come out. No, they don't. They just don't. So that's my little mini rant. What are your thoughts on the format and just generally the reaction?
So the question being is like, is the Royal Rumble like a tired formula?
Yeah.
So I think yes. I'm gonna attack it from this angle. But I'm gonna say a few things first about the overall reactions and my analysis, just from being there. So the overall chatter that I heard just from walking around, like standing in the line at the bathroom, whatever, just listening to people as I'm walking through the arena throughout the show, particularly after the women's match. The overall chatter was like, okay, Sasha Banks wasn't there, but the match was still good. A lot of people weren't even talking about Sasha. Like there were some people that were bummed out that Sasha wasn't there, but WWE did enough with the women's match. I think you had Jordynne Grace, you had Naomi, you had Liv Morgan, Jade Cargill with her awesomeness. Like there was enough there. Bianca Belair was a clear star. It was just a better match. It was just better booked than the men's match. Then with the men's match, a lot of it was like, yeah, we want The Rock, we want surprises. A lot of people were saying like, where are the legends? Like somebody was like talking behind me, like, where's X-Pac? I want to see X-Pac or somebody like that to come out. Like, okay, whatever. I digress on that. But a lot of people were just bored, like with the men's Royal Rumble. In my opinion, like you don't really need the men's Royal Rumble to accomplish what they did in the men's match. You had Cody and Punk have this phenomenal face-off like 5 days before the show on Raw. So you already know, okay, Cody Punk gonna be the final two. They already gave that away. Right? You could just have a match, you just do a standard pay-per-view, whatever you want to call the pay-per-view, you could figure that out later, but you do a standard match where Punk and Cody are like, okay, we're gonna wrestle, and the winner goes to the main event of WrestleMania. They do this in the UFC. They call them like contender fights. They have two guys that are ranked like 1 and 2 or 3 and 4, 2 and 4, like right underneath the champion, and they fight 3 months before the title fight. You have Punk and Cody just fight. Cody wins. He chooses Roman Reigns. And then you could go on about your day. Like it's just, there was no point for the men's Royal Rumble. It served no purpose if we're sitting there for an hour waiting just to see Cody and Punk, when you could just cut out all the middleman and just give us Cody and Punk.
Yeah.
So like me personally, I'm not like one of those people that's like in love with returns, because then the other side of the coin is like, oh, The Rock's here. Oh my God, The Rock's here to take spots from people. So you can't win either way with that kind of discourse.
Yep.
And it just goes to like to show that people like have been conditioned a certain way. The Royal Rumble has been booked a certain way for a decade now. You have Bubba Ray Dudley's here, pal. JBL is here. Booker T's here. All these stars, throwbacks, flashbacks from the past, Attitude Era stars. The Godfather's here, pal. It was fun. It was different. now it's being booked where it's like, one, the wrestlers are more over than they were 7 years ago. Like what, half of the roster is pretty over, and on the
Yeah.
men's side at least, like at least half of the roster that was in the Royal Rumble. You know, Gunther, the Usos, McIntyre, Cody, Punk. That's like 6 right there off the top of my head.
Yeah.
That's at least like 15 guys are over.
Mm.
So it's just a different booking, and people are gonna get used to it. People get conditioned to it, where the men's Royal Rumble is just different. There's no returns, none of this. You can't win either way. I don't know. I just think I think it is a tired formula. I think people are just kind of tired of it, and I think you could just have accomplished, have Cody and Punk wrestle in a 1-on-1 match, and boom, get to WrestleMania that way.
I feel like almost every year, one or both of the Rumbles are like that, where you watch it at the end and go, well, it was pretty obvious either this guy was going to win or it was going to be one of two. They could have just had a match.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I remember last year with Rhea Ripley, when she won the women's one, I was like, that was pretty bloody obvious. Like, that could have just been Rhea Ripley beating like Nia Jax, and that would have accomplished the same thing than having an hour and 10-minute match, you know. At least with the women's one this year, as you say, there were so many different things throughout that match that it kept all our ADHD brains stimulated for an hour and 10 minutes, all these different things. Oh, look, it's Jordan Grace power, Phil the Glow power, it's Naomi. Oh, look, Nia Jax eliminated 8 women. Oh, there's Jade Cargill power, throwing her out, body slamming her. Oh, Liv Morgan power. Oh, look, who's going to win? Like that match kept us more, interested in all the different things throughout. With the men, it was like, okay, Jey Uso and Jim Uso here at the start. Oh, here's Cody Powell. Here's Punk. Oh, Judgment Day are in here. Oh, look, they're doing a spot with R-Truth tagging in Powell. And then, Bron Breakker. Oh, Pat McAfee Powell. And then the match sort of ended with the big final 2, which did it fall flat? Did it not? I liked it. Some people, all people didn't. I don't know. So there's that. Anything more you want to discuss on the Rumble while we're here?
Yeah, I'll just say this. I like the final 2 as well. I dug it. I thought it was really good. I was like disappointed. I was like, why is nobody else into this? This is Punk and Cody. These are the 2 biggest stars of the company aside from Roman Reigns. Like, what is going on? Yeah, I think it's just a formula, really. I think it's just people are used to it being a certain way. People want to see fun surprises, want to see fun entrants. And I guess R-Truth wasn't enough. R-Truth didn't provide enough fun. And I thought Bron Breakker was great. I thought R-Truth was great. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. It can't really put a finger on it. Like, you would think after that Raw segment, like, oh my god, Cody Punk, this is gonna be great. Fell flat.
Speaking of falling flat, I'm going to transition